Hello all, welcome to VH Online Trainings. Myself Naga. In this video, we are going to start about the SQL training. So the objective of this training is to help the people who doesn't have SQL background and want to be good with the hands-on of this writing various queries and stored procedures functions. So in this objective, we have come up with a series of videos. So there will be around 10 or 12 videos. So you can follow these videos and you will be very good in writing these SQLs. So we'll be uploading this series of videos one by one on daily basis. And let's go and start with the SQL training here. So for any kind of, for every class, we will be giving some of these exercises for you to make sure that you will be having the respective hands-on. So during this course of videos, if you have any queries or any questions you want to contact, I have listed my profile down below in the video description. You can get me in touch at any point in time. So let's go and start SQL training here. So before starting this SQL training, so what are all the softwares that I require to be having in my laptop? Okay. So basically you need to have the SQL server, which is a class server, which you can download from the Microsoft website and below. So just go and download the developer edition from the Microsoft page. So how to download that and how to install that SQL server, you can just, I have given a link. Please go through this video and you will be able to set up your database server on your machine. Okay, make sure that you download the latest server that is available on Microsoft website and try to install that on your machine. And along with this, you need a client component called SQL Server Management Studio, where this is the client component that we will be using to write or create some of these database objects or pull the data. So all those operations will be done using the client management tools, which is called the SQL Server Management Studio. And this one also you need to separate it download. And I have given the link here. You can get this link in the video description below, and then you can install this SSMS as well. Okay. So once you are installing both this SQL and SSMS, we are good to work with the SQL Server. So let's go ahead and see first the other. So let's start with first of all, what is SQL? So SQL stands for, as you see here, SQL stands for the Structured Query Language. So basically SQL is a bridge between the user and the database server. So basically what happens, so whatever the database you want to store the data or you want to retrieve the data. So as a user, we can't directly talk with this database server, right? So the SQL is a bridge which can help you in converting your queries to the database and pull the result that you are likely to be seeing. Okay. So SQL, all you need to do is you need to be good with the writing SQL queries. So it will go and execute against the database and it will pull the respective data and will be shown to the user. And SQL follows ANSI standards, which is nothing but American National Standards Institute. So these are the standards which SQL has been. And to be precise, SQL is a language, a structured query language, which is quite built a long time back, okay, as a base. So Microsoft has took this SQL and they have added their own functions, and they have come into they have released a product into the market saying as a SQL Server, okay. The current latest version of SQL Server is SQL Server 2019. It has a previous journey like from 2000 onwards. We have 2000 version and then later they have revised again 2005, 2008. So very frequently Microsoft will be releasing with the latest features and they are coming with new versions along with all the existing versions. They are clearly supporting the new versions and modifications. So you can observe this in the series of videos that you have in the Microsoft website. So you'll get all the complete information of about the versions. So that's all about a brief introduction about the SQL. So we'll see about more in the classes. So at a high level, what I can do with the SQL. So what exactly SQL help you is SQL help you to write some of these queries, and it can execute against the database and pull the result that you are expected to see. And as I said, you can insert some of these records, or you can update the data, or you can delete the records, or you can create some of the database objects or table objects, procedures. Like this, you can see multiple. I have listed some of these main operations in here, but you, in fact, you can do the so many operations using the SQL. That we will see all one by one going forward in our classes. So now in this class, what are the topics that we are going to cover? As you see, we have seen a brief introduction about the SQL introduction, about what is SQL and what are the components or softwares that I need to be having on my system. So these are the couple of things. I'm not going much again into this SQL introduction. Okay. So we'll be talking about like SQL Server comes up with some of the default system databases. As I listed here, there are 4 different databases. So we'll be seeing this, what exactly is this, and we'll be talking about the data definition language, DML statements. We'll talk about in detail what exactly is this, and we'll talk about the various data types also that we have. Okay. So I have listed only some of the data types here for our reference, but in fact we have more databases as well. Now let's go back and start the SQL Server. So once you are ready with the SQL Server installation and then SSMS, which is a client component, so you just go to the search bar and then type SSMS. Okay, which will be listed here, Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio 18. So this is the currently 2018 version which I have in my system. So you can see that latest version in your system based on your download section. Okay. So once you see this, you just open this. So this will be a window will be presented to you, the Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio, and here it will be shown. Okay, you connect to the server whatever you want. So in this server type, we have there are 4 different text boxes or drop downs that you can see here. The first one is about the server type. So by default, this will be a database engine, but you will be seeing multiple services. These are related to the Microsoft BI services. So don't worry about this. So we are just working with the database engine here. So make sure that you have the database engine only here. And here you need to type your server name. So by default, maybe you may be seeing a blank here. Okay, so if you are seeing something like this, so just make it here and click on the browse for more. So they will be seeing this a database engine folder here. Under this, you will be seeing the server name that you have installed on your machine. Okay, so just select this and click on OK and then connect. So when you click on this connect, and this will be the server, it will be opening here. And as you see here, there are different folder structures, whatever you are seeing here. So the first folder will just list you all the databases that we have, and the second folder is about the security folder, wherein you can see what are the logins, what are the credentials related to this. And we have multiple folders here. Don't worry about this. We'll see all this one by one. So let's start with the databases here. So once you expand this databases, you may be seeing no databases here. Maximum you will be seeing the system database and then database snapshots. So, but all these are the user-defined databases which I have created myself. Uh, So now coming to the system databases, as I told in my introduction, SQL Server comes with the 4 default databases: master, model, MSDB, and then temp DB. Okay, what exactly is the master? So master is the one. So these are the default databases which SQL Server requires and follows and very much needed for your SQL operations. So we'll just see what are these databases and why do they will use and what is the use of these things and when it will be useful for you. Okay. Now when I talk about the master database, this is the very much detailed the default database that SQL requires. So basically this master database contains all the services to start your SQL server. So whenever you click on your whenever you connect to the server, so this is the master database which has all the files. So that will initiate in the backend and your server will be open for your query. Okay. So that is all about the master database. I'm not going into much details. We just need to be at high level knowing what is this master database and what it does. So it has all the service files which is required to initiate the SQL server. Okay. Now here the model database. So what is this total database? It's nothing but so in order to work with the servers now, so normally we create the databases, right? So these are all the databases. One, two, this is our system databases. So under this database, you will see the tables here, and there will be so many objects as well. So when you are going to create a new database, okay, so model database will have the set of rules. That rules will talk about how your custom database should be and what are the rules that each database need to follow. So basically it will follow as a model for the other databases so that they can follow the similar kind of models, the generic rules when they are creating the custom databases. Okay. So model database will just help you with a set of rules that need to be followed by all the databases. And now coming to the MSDB, MSDB stands for the Microsoft database. So basically this is being used to scheduling purposes. So like if you have created some of the programs and you need to run those programs, so all this scheduling can be done. There is an agent called SQL Server agent. So all the scheduling jobs will be done using this SQL Server. Now, when you are scheduling your jobs or programs, whatever these things, so all the metadata that is required for these jobs, like what is the scheduling and when they need to start, what happened, and so on. So all this particular background information will be stored against the Microsoft MSDB database. Okay. And the fourth one is all about the temp database. So basically the temp database is nothing but these are the temporary database used for to hold the temporary calculations. So when you are writing some programs, sometimes you may come across like you need to be using some of these temporary calculations and store it somewhere for some temporary purpose, right? So in this scenario, Microsoft has come up with a system database called temp database. Any temporary calculations that you will be using that will be stored under temp database for your purpose. Okay. So I'm not going into much very detail about the system databases. We just need to be aware what are these databases and what is the use of these databases. So these are the main four databases that we have, and these are the complete purpose of this each and every database. Okay. So that was about the system databases. Now going back to this server. So basically, if you see here, when I expand these databases, I can see the system database and database name. Now you can create n number of user-defined user databases here. Okay, there is no limit that you can go and create your databases because each database will have the set of tables. So under the basis, you have the objects. When I say objects, it may be tables, it may be views, it may be stored procedures, maybe functions, or maybe other factors as well. So you may not be understanding about all these objects, but at high level, a database is a collection of objects that we can say. So whenever you want to store something, first you need to create a database. So now let's go and see how to create this database here. Now you see under there is a databases folder here. Right click on this. You can click on this new database. So here I'm naming one database. I'm going to create one new database called SQL Training. So in this wizard, when you open here on the general page, you will be seeing the database name which you need to fill in. Okay. Please put this name whatever you like or whatever you want your database name to be having. Okay. And by default, the owner is default. Let it be. We'll see after this. Now the important thing we need to understand whenever you create a database, okay, there will be two files which will be created. One is called LDF and the second one is called the MDF. So we'll be talking about the MDF and then LDF. So what is basically MDF? Is a master data file. This is called the log data file. So whatever the data that you are getting stored, or whatever your business data that you are trying to store in the database, that will be stored under the master data file. Okay. So there will be two files created when you are creating these databases, and the master data file will contains all the data that you are trying to store in the database. Now, what is this LDF? LDF, as the name indicates here, it is a log data file. What is this exactly? The log data file means. So whenever you do some operations, like you are deleting some records, you are inserting some records, you are dropping the databases. So basically, all these operations will be stored under the log data file. So basically, all the audit operations will be stored here. Okay. So that is the purpose of this master data file and then log data file, MDF and then LDF here. We go back to the window that we are referring here. As you see here, under the below, there are some attributes that we need to understand. Now the logical name here. So there are two files. One is this data file and the log file which we are seeing. This is your MDF and this is your LDF. And your data file is the primary one, and log is just for the audit operations. So initially it will allocate some of this size by default, but if you want to increase this, yes, you can increase. Okay, you are allowed free to increase all this. So whenever this size is coming to the finish, so automatically it has the auto growth by 64 MB. So you no need to worry, it will be keep on increasing your databases. If you want, like, and we have selected to the unlimited here. If you want to this limited to only certain MB, then you can come here and select this operation and make sure how much MB you want to limit. Then, so after this MB, it will not be auto growth. Okay, so please keep in that mind. So for myself, I'm just putting unlimited because I want to hit auto growth every time by 64 MB. Okay, and these are the just logical names that you have. And this is the path where exactly your files will be stored, your MDF and the LDF. If you go back to this particular folder, so this is the place where all your data files, as you see here, I have so many databases here, but this is the place where it stores all your data files on your particular machine. Okay, so these are the parameters that everyone should be aware of, and I'm not going into much detail on these options and then file groups here because we will see going forward what exactly these options and why they require for this. But for now, to just create the database, we are good here, and then we click on the OK. So now once you click here, that new database appears in your databases list. As you see here, SQL Training. So this is the new database that it has been created. Now when you expand this, so you again see the list of folders. As I told previously, you can see the database is a collection of tables, objects, like stored procedures, functions, and there are so many other objects as well. So all of these empty if you expand these tables, views, so far because we have freshly created our database and you will see all the empty objects. So wherever you see this by default folder, so these are the system tables that comes up along with this every time whenever you create some database, these are the system tables by default it will create. Okay. But so far we have not created any tables. Now we'll see how to work with. Now before we go and create tables, so basically what exactly is a table? Why do we need a table? So table is the physical place where we go and store the data. Okay. So in other words, we can say the table is an object which stores all your data. Okay. Now it stores by column. Okay. Let's say I have column 1, column 2, column 3, like exactly similar to your Excel file. So when you have the Excel file, you have the column 1, column 2, column 3 like this. And so basically a table is a collection of columns that we can say. And each table we can refer to each single object. When I say what is the object, like I can have the customer table. I can have the customer address table. Then have the employee table. I have the student names. So these are the various tables that you can have, and each table is a collection of columns. So with this brief background about the tables, let's go and create a table and see how we can create the tables. Now in this current table, so you can see this folder called tables. Right click on this table, you'll see a window here. Click on new, and there is an option for you to select the table. So when you click on this table, so basically you will see a window here with the three columns called column name, data type, and then all else. Now let's say I'm going and creating the some student table. Okay. So I want these columns to be part of my table, student ID. Now you need to tell the database engine what type of data that you are storing in this column. Okay. As I said, you see this column, it is referring to the student ID, right? So student ID, there are various data types. So normally the IDs will be in the numbers, right? So for this purpose, there is a data type called integer. So I'm just selecting this integer. Now again, when it comes to the integer, there are three types of integers. One is called integer, and the second one is small integer, and then third one is the. So we have three data types here in the integer. So why do we need the three types again here? As you see, the range of these data types is very much different. Now, when you have 1 to 99 IDs, when you are storing this data, now so normally you can use the small one. Okay. And when you use more than 100 to 35,000, some 535 something is the range. So you can use the basically a int. Instead of small int, you can just go with the regular int. But when you have the more than this data, so then obviously then you will be going use the big integer. So when you have the huge data, huge numbers, then use the make use of the big integer. Now, if you see here, there is an int. If you can navigate further, then you can see the small int. You can go back and you see the big int. Okay, like this, there are data types. And then I'm storing the name. Now, when I'm storing the name, so basically the name is called a text, right? So in order to store the text, we have couple of data types. So what are those data types? We have the character database, we have the varchar database. Okay. So for now, we are just using the varchar and we'll go and select this one. As you see here, we have the varchar. And it automatically comes with a type called 50. What is this means? Means it is accepted only 50 characters here. Okay, so the name with the 50 characters length maximum you can insert into this database. Sorry, this column. Okay, so if you want to increase like 200, you can just allow to change that from here itself. Okay, and then I'm date of birth. Okay, the So now when we talk about the date of birth, normally we store the data like date format, right? So to store the date, again we have the so many here, like you have the small date time, you have the date time two, all this. If you want to store only the date, use this. If you want to store the date and time, then use this. I'll come back to the date time two and then date time offset as well. Okay. In this case, I just want to store the date, so I'm just selecting the date here. And then now I'm storing this, I'm saving this table. So how I'm saying there is a tab here. Right click on this, click on the save table. Okay. Now enter the table name here. I'm entering it as a student. Okay. And click on OK. Now the new table whichever I have created, you go and expand this. You're not seeing right. Sometimes if it is not clean, you just right click on the tables and click on the refresh. Now you see the student table here. Okay. So now when you click here and try to save the student, if you are facing any error, like you are not allowed to recreate this table, something that kind of error. So what you need to do is, you need to disable one option like, there is a tools button here. Just click on this, go to the options, and then there is a designers tab. Okay. By default, this will be enabled. Okay. If this is enabled, you are not able to save this table. Okay. In that case, if you are getting that error, then just uncheck this box and click on OK. So when you uncheck this and then click on OK, so now you are allowed to save this table back to the database. Okay. And you are seeing this database. So right click on this particular table and you will see many options here like new table design. If you want, I want to see the data in this table. So just say select top 1000 rows. So it is not showing me any data because it just has created, but I have not inserted any of the data in this particular table, right? That's why there is no data here. Now if you click on it here, edit top 200 rows. So it will open this table in an edit mode. You can enter some of this data here like one, something like A, date of birth is 1/1/2000. So once you enter this, just click on this tab, it will go to the next one, 2D. So like this, I was able to enter two records here. And now if I want to close this, you just right click on this and close, or you can see the button here, close button. Okay. Now even if you go and see here, now next time select top 1000 rows, now you are able to see the two records here, right? So that's how you can insert this data. So you can create a table and you can insert the table with the data in the classes which I have shown. Now when you right click on this, now you see there is a design option. When you click on the design, it will show up this design what we have used initially, okay, to create this table. Now we have seen about the column name and the data type, but what exactly is this null or nulls? Okay. So suppose let's say you don't have any data of birth to fill and you want to leave it a blank. Okay. Then when you click on this option, what will happen? This particular column will not be a mandatory one. And if you are not filling any data, it will append with as a null. Okay. So something like if I put 1A and then the column 3 is I'm not have any data, then automatically database will fills with value called null. Okay. So now in one important point which we need to understand when you have any no data or blank, okay, so basically SQL stores as a null. Okay, null is a database object to represent the empty value. So if you are unchecking this option means then you need to mandatorily enter some value in this particular column. If you are not entering, then you will not be able to save that particular record. Okay. All the rows, whatever you are seeing here, the rows, this we are calling it as a records. Okay. So if the column is not having and it is mandatory, then you need to make sure that you enter some of this data. Otherwise, it will not allow you to save that record. Okay. So that's how we can create a table and we can insert this data. But so far, whatever we have seen is using the wizard based. So I have a wizard. I can right click and I can click on the new database and I can click on the new table from the folders. So everything is a wizard based. But we need to be familiar with, without using the wizard, how to create these databases, how to create these tables. Okay, that is one of the important subject that we need to learn. Okay, so now how we can do this? Now, in order to create a new table, okay, so we need to, there are some commands in the SQL which we need to use to create any new object. When I say object, object may be a table, object may be views, procedures, functions, whatever it may be. Okay. So to create a new object, we need to use the keyword called the create. So remember one thing, whenever you want to work with SQL, SQL comes with the commands. Okay. There are commands and there are keywords are the same. They have, SQL has a lot of keywords, okay, which will help you in every aspect of your data retrieving or inserting. Okay. So when we talk about the keywords, so now the keywords are the commands. So basically SQL comes have two types of commands. So that is called DDL and then other one is called DML. And we have one more set as well, DCL commands as well. We'll talk about this DCL later. But for now, what is the DDL? DDL stands for the data definition language. So DDL stands for data definition language and DML stands with the data manipulation language. So data definition language and then data manipulation language. Now what exactly is the data definition and what exactly is the data manipulation? Okay. When I talk about the data definition, when we have created this design, when we have created this table, we have just inputted the column names and we have told the database engine like each column is of what data that it is being stored. Okay, this is basically a structure. right? Or we can simply say it as a definition. I am storing the data in this format. So this is a definition of your table. Okay, I have this so and so columns. Each column is having storing this kind of information. So this is a definition to store your data. Correct? So when I talk about the definition, all the structure both are the same. Okay. So basically, when we talk about the definition or structure, there are different commands here. You have the create, you have the alter, you have the drop. So there are mainly three commands: data definition language. So if you want to create a table, then you need to use the create command. If you want to change, like you want to add a new column, you want to delete one existing column, then you need to use the alter keyword. And if you want to use the drop the object itself, then you need to use this drop command. So now we'll go and see this same thing, whatever we have created here. So whatever the structure that I have created using wizard, now I'll try to go and create the same thing using the commands. Now how I can use these commands to create. So we'll first see the data definition language. So while we are working with the data definition language, we come across the create, delete, so create, alter, and then drop. So now we'll see how to use the create to create an object called table. Now when you want to create this table object, we need to follow some syntax, how to write this. Now if you want to understand the deep syntax of how to write a create a table or drop a table, what I suggest here, you go to the navigate to the W3 schools, just navigate to this, and there is an SQL tab here. Just click on the learn SQL. So it will navigate to this. So basically you will see all the commands, various commands that SQL has, and this gives you complete syntax out of it. Like if you want to create the database, what syntax you need to use. Okay, this is the particular syntax which you need. If you want to create the table, so this is your syntax. So if you clearly observe here, when you want to create a table, you need to write the statement called create, and the table keyword should be there. You give the table name here. And then in the brackets, you mention your column names and then what data type it is following that you need to give it here. Okay. So with this syntax, we'll go and create a new table. So this is the kind of syntax that it will follow. So I'm writing create table. This time I'm naming it as a student. Okay. I'm naming my table as a student. I'm opening the brackets. Here I'm mentioning as a student ID. As you see here, you need to mention the column one and what is the data type of it. And make it as a small it. Then the keywords will be shown in the blue color. Just please take a note of it. ID and then name. Name is called like a varchar of let's say I want to store some 40 characters. Okay, or you can name it as name. If you see any same names as a keywords, then you can just name it as like this, or you can name it as a student name as well. But better you try to keep as much as short and with a descriptive information. And then column 3 is, let's say I want to have the date of birth, so which is of the data type. Okay, if it is date time, then you just type, but in my case it is date, so I'm just ending up with it. So this is the way which you need to use. Okay, so you need to write like this. Now, when you want to work like this, remember one thing. So first, just click on this SQL training. Click on the new query here. Okay, click on the new query and then write your. This will open a window. Then just write your command, whatever you want to execute. Now make sure this particular dropdown has the exact database. Like I want to create this table under SQL training. That's why it is by SQL training. If you see any other database, make sure that you select your database. Otherwise, it will be creating in some other database. Okay. So like this, I'm good now to create this table. Click on the execute. Now when you click on this execute, below is the results window. So if this particular statement is executed successfully means you will see the query executed successfully here at the bottom. As you see here, query executed successfully, and it will show the server name here and under which account it is running, in what database this particular query has executed, and this gives you the complete time of this execution for this query. So for it executed very fast, that's why it is showing a 0 seconds, and it will show how many records has been affected. So in this particular thing, I am just not showing any data here. I am just trying to create a table. So that's why it is showing as 0. And you will see the message commands completed successful. If you see this, then it will be successful. Otherwise, you will see like with a red color, what is the issue. Okay. So it will show the issue exact. Now I have created a student 2 table, but it is not coming here. You just need to refresh these tables once. So whatever the above folder, that above folder you need to refresh. Now you see there is a student 2 table, right? So when I select like this, I can see no data because so far I have not entered any data. Okay. So now if I want to insert a new data here, how to insert this new data? Or okay, sorry, let's go ahead. First we'll see the other commands like alter and drop. Okay. So I want to drop this object. Whatever the table I have created, I want to drop this now. So what I can do, drop table name. So if you want to understand the drop syntax, you can just go to the drop table here. And there is a particular syntax here, drop table name. Okay. And this is the drop table. Okay. So you just need to give right like this drop table and what is the table name. So when you execute this, make sure that you select only that particular line and click on execute. Okay. Don't simply click on execute. Make sure that you only select only that particular. So what happens if you simply execute like this is one statement, this is one statement, this is one statement. So these are the 4 statements in this particular window. So it will try to execute this first, second, third, fourth like this. So but I don't want all the statements to be executed. So I want only this particular statement to be executed. So that's why I selected only this particular topic and click on the execute. Now if I go and refresh these tables, now you see that there is no object called student2, correct? So means when you want to delete a particular table, you need to use the drop command. Okay. Use the drop command to drop this table completely from the database, and then you can see the student2 here. Now I want to recreate this, so I'm just selecting this particular statement and executing it here again. Okay. So this is the way to create a table and drop. We need to see the alter, but we'll come back to this alter. But before that, we'll talk about the next set of commands that we have. Next set of commands that we have is the data manipulation language. So far we have seen about the data definition means how my table structure will be and what are the columns that I have, and each column stores what kind of data. So it just gives the information, but it never talks about what is the data inside that table, right? Now, when we are working with the data inside the table or whatever the object that we have, okay, then we need to use the commands like a data manipulation commands. Okay, DML commands. We can say it as a DML commands. Okay, when we talk about the DML commands, we have the insert, we have the update, we have the delete. So what is these commands are used for? So for what reason we have these commands means, if you want to insert the data into a table, then you use the insert command. Okay, like we have seen with the wizard how to edit a table and insert the data directly into the table, but with using the commands, how to insert. Now you have the insert command to insert the data. And at any point in time, if you want to update any particular record or maybe all the records in a table, then you need to use the update keyword. Okay. And if you want to delete any particular record, let's say I have 10 records, I want to delete one record or two records, three records, whatever it may be, then you need to use the delete keyword. Okay. When you use the delete keyword, the particular data. So in short, when you are working with the definition of structure, you need to use the data definition language commands, which is nothing but DDL commands. But when you are working with the data, then you need to use the DML commands, data manipulation language commands. Okay. So these are the two set of commands which we will be using throughout all the classes. So make sure that you learn about exact the syntax using the W3 schools, and you need to work with this. So we'll see these commands, how to use this. Now, if I want to insert the table, insert the data into the student 2 table, so I need to follow the syntax. So now when it comes to this, you can see the insert SQL insert into. It has this syntax. So this is the syntax it will follow. So if you want to insert the data into a table, what you need to write? You need to write like a insert into, just give the table name, and then there should be a values command. So values keyword will be there, and you need to open the brackets and just enter the data. So in the same way, I'm trying to write now insert into student 2 table. I want to insert the data into student 2. Okay, open the brackets. Sorry, just type the keyword called values, open the bracket. Now you see here, student ID I have, student name I have, date of birth I have, right? So I want to insert the data into the three columns. So make sure whatever the order that you have here, you try to insert the same thing. If you want to mention like this, you can insert the, like I want to insert like 1, okay? And then name as, let's say, some ABC, and then date of birth is 1/1/2001. Let's say, and enter this bracket. Now close this bracket. So in this way, you need to write like this. But before this, we go and execute. You need to remember one important point. So when you are trying to insert any text values or the data and values apart from the integers, okay, apart from the numbers, any kind of other information, then you need to make sure that it is enclosed in a single quotes. Okay, you need to make sure that you put in the single quotes here. Now when you are good, you just select this particular command and click on the execute. Now you see there is a one row affected and you see this query executed successfully as well. Now it means your data is now got inserted into the table. Now how to see the table? What is the data insert? In order to see the data or retrieve the data, normally you need to use the keyword called select. Okay. Now select star from student. Now what is this? A select is used for, select is used to display the data for the user. Okay, when you want to work with select, So you need to write select star. Star refers to the all the columns in this table. Okay, when you put the star means I am trying to refer all the columns in the student table. So I'm just selecting this and then executing. So when I show this, so because I use the star, it is showing all the columns 1, ABC, 2. Okay. So in this way, you can see the data that is got inserted. Now, if you want to see only the particular columns like only the name or date of birth, and you don't want to see the student ID, just give the column names. Instead of star, you make sure that you refer to the only those column names. Just select and click on the execute. Now it will display only that particular columns only to the users. So in this way, you can just insert the data and select the data. Now let's say I want to delete the data. Now whatever the record I have inserted, I want to delete this data. Now I write delete from student. Now previously we have used the drop table, that is to drop the object in the table itself, but I don't want to drop the table. I just want to delete the data. When you want to work with inside data of the object, then you make sure that you use the Dml commands. If you want to work with it directly on a structure, then you make sure you use DDL commands. Now when I click on the delete from student to execute, so it is got affected. Now when I go back and select, I just want to see if the data exists or not. And just select on this and execute. Now you see the data got deleted, right? So in this way, you can use the delete and then student table. Now here, now let's go and reinsert this value. Okay. And I'm inserting a next record also. There is a 2, and then let's say XYZ. So I'm just selecting this and inserting. So total, I have inserted 2 records. Let's go and see the select, execute. Now you see there is a 2 records which is inserted into this table. Okay. Now I want to update this name. Okay. I want to update this. So let's say I have inserted this by mistake and I want to update this. Now what I need to use? I need to use, there is another command called update. Okay. There is other command called update. Okay. When I say DML commands, you have the insert, you have the update, you have the delete. Now we already seen about the insert and delete how. Now we will go and see the update command. Now when you want to work with update command, how you need to write? You need to write the update command on the table name. You can get the detailed description here when you go to the SQL update, like what is the syntax. You can just follow the syntax and then you can update. Now update student, you need to write the table name and then you need to write the set command. Set. Which column you want to update here? Yes name command, right? Yes name equal to, I put something. Okay. Now I am trying to update this table and this column with this data. Okay. Now let's go and execute. Just selecting these 2 lines and clicking on the execute. Now I am seeing it here. Select this again. So now you see the data got updated. But previously we had the ABC and then XYZ. Now it has been updated. But if you see here, it is updated both the records. Okay. Sometimes you may have the requirement only to update the only the record one. But it has updated all the records in this table, right? When you want to select only that particular records, what you need to write, you need to use the filter condition. So how you use the filter condition, you need to use the where I want to write like a student ID equal to 1. Okay. So when you write like this, what will happen? Only for the student ID 1, this name will be updated. Right? You see here, I'm just changing this now to Sri. So I want to update only student 1 with the name called Sri. I don't want to disturb the other records. So I just written filter condition, writing the execute. So now you see here, now we have updated only the first record and have not updated the second. So in this way, you need to filter these records. Okay. Again, this filter record, whatever the where clause, where keyword you can use along with any of this. Like if you want to filter this SQL, so after the table, you just write the where condition. After the table only, you need to write the where condition student equal to 1. So now what it will happen, it will just show you filter the data only for the student 1. Okay. So now when you write delete for student 2, when you execute this particular statement, what will happen? It will delete all the records, right? So now I don't want to delete all the records. I just want to delete the student one. Then you just place this where condition after this table name. Just select this and click on the okay. Now if you select only this particular, I'm not filtering. Now you see there is only one record because the other record got deleted. So in this way, you can, if you want to work with only select two records, make sure that you filter this data using the where clause. Okay. Now how to write this where in detail, we'll see in the next classes because this is the first class, just a basically introduction of how to work with this one. Okay. So this is all about the DML commands. So we have seen the DML commands insert, update, delete. Select is just a normal class to select your data. Okay. And here the DDL commands, we have seen the create, we have created the drop also. But sometimes, let's say there is another keyword called alter. Okay. So sometimes you will have the requirements like in this particular table, you already have the 3 columns. Now you want to add the 4th column. Okay, how you can add? And if you want to, because we are changing the structure of our object, right? So there is a third keyword called alter in the DDL commands. So this alter command will help you to change the structure of your table. When I say change means you can delete one column, you can add a new column, you can add do whatever the changes regarding the definition. So that is called alter. We are changing the structure of it. So in this particular table, we already have 3 columns. Okay, I want to add the 4th column, like a city. Okay, so how I can add? So when you navigate back to the W3 schools, you see the syntax of the alter table. So when you want to add a new column, you need to use this syntax. Okay, but when you want to drop a column, already existing column, if you want to drop, then you need to use this syntax. So there are two things in the alter. One, you can add a new column with this syntax, or if you want to delete an existing column, then just follow this complete syntax. Okay. So now in our scenario, I'm just taking this, adding a new column. Okay. This is the syntax that you need to follow to add a new column. Now before that, first we'll go and see our select class. So select star from student. Just executing this, click on execute. So you can see that I have only one record and I have 3 columns, right? So now what I'm trying to do, I'm adding a new column called city. Alter table student 2. Okay. So you got alter table, you have given table name, and you need to write add command. Add. What is the column name you want to add? City, right? So you have given the city. What is the data type of this? It is a string. So you just mention it as okay, I want to store it as a 20 characters. Okay. So this is the statement as per the syntax I have written, and I just selected and click on the execute. Now this is executed successfully as I see here. Okay, now go back and run this select steps from student. If you see there is a new column called city, but there is no data entered because we just created that column and we never added our data back to this table, right? So now I want to update. So I want to update the city as a Bangalore now. So I'm using that data. So which column I want to update the student to? I want to update city equal to, let's say, within single quotes I'm mentioning as a Bangalore, where student ID is. So in this particular case, as I have only one record, it doesn't matter for me for this filter, or if you want to use this filter also, that is fine. So just selecting this and executing this. So this is executed successfully. Now go back and visualize the data. Now you see this is updated to this, right? Bangle. So it has been updated to the Bangle like this. So far we are good here. So how to write the order as well. So in the same way, if you want to drop that any existing column, you just follow this syntax and you can drop that particular column. Okay. So these are the various commands, DDL and Dml commands. These are the most important commands that you will be using in all your next classes or whatever the project works that you will be doing. So make sure that this basic is you will be able to write the syntax with ease. Okay. For this, you need to practice a couple of times. So what I have done, I am attaching a SQL exercise for you in the video description below. So just follow that the exercise and try to write these commands or try to follow the practice that examples. So you will be familiar with how to write these commands. Okay. These are the very basic things which each and every developer need to write. So make sure that you try to practice this after watching this video. Okay. So I have attached the exact description in the below video. So you can just refer to that. Okay. So that's all for today's class. This is very just an introduction class, which where we have seen the DDL and DML commands are the most important things as of today. So just practice and come back to the next class. Okay. Thanks everyone. Thanks for your time. Thanks for watching this video as well. So we'll catch you later. Thanks. Bye.